Democrats are going to be panicking after they hear this huge news about Donald Trump, as well as some big news about themselves and their own party, too. You'll see what it is, folks. It'll be pretty interesting. So we're going to get right into it. But first, do me a huge favor. Like our video and share it around so we can keep bringing you all this great, hard-hitting content. And as always, Patriots, I'm your host, Arian, and this is Resist the Mainstream.
Now think about this. The president today going to collapse the Department of Education. That, whether you support it or not, it's a big move. I was on the phone yesterday with Zelensky, the day before with Vladimir Putin. By the way, he's also trying to have a major meeting with energy sources to try to amp what's going on with our energy production. First time in 4 years, people have gone to the White House from natural gas and oil companies in order to meet to talk about moving forward. All this leads to one thing. This is the president of the United States on hyperspeed to accomplish a myriad of things. And you wonder how the American people are receiving some of the things he's doing at the speed in which he's executing. According to this poll, there's a lot to be happy about if you're a Republican.
Yeah, Hazel, what are these poll numbers we got?
So look at that. It says, Lawrence, that out of all voters that Fox News polled, 49% approve of Donald Trump. That matches his high from April of 2020. And the high marks are among women and black voters and voters under the age of 30. Look at the Republican number. 92% of Republicans approve.
And about 4 in 10 independents. Here's what's going on, though. Take a look at, we've got a great graphic if you're a Republican in Congress, because they are now at an all-time high. Now, they have Republican congressional members of Congress have a 43% approval. And as you can see, back in 2013, it was 20%. So it has doubled. 88% of the... one of the reasons is because 88% of Republicans are backing the Republican Party today, as opposed to a couple of years ago when only about half of Republicans backed the party. And so that's all good news.
And when you look at the party of resistance, the Democratic Party, only 30% approve right now. And that's dropping drastically, because in January 2023, it was at 42%, and it keeps going down and down. When it comes to the disapproval, now 66% disapprove of the job that they're doing. And I think what that gets to is that they become the party of the resistance, and they're not working at all. They're not trying to work with the president. They did not stand for the kid with cancer. They did not stand for the parents that lost their children to illegals. They're not even turning over the illegals to the police right now. They're against the flight. Everything that this president is doing right now, they're not offering any type of solutions. And I think the media has lost their influence completely. They lied to him about Joe Biden, his mental decline. They lied to them about the issues on a day-to-day basis. They said that the inflation was transitory and the people were feeling it at home. So they're not listening to them. The president is speaking to the American public on a day-to-day basis, and it looks like he has the wind in his sails right now.
When you look at it, and you should go to foxnews.com and read it, because it's a really interesting thing. The one thing that people across the board, about 70, given the fact that he has already signed, and we were talking about abolishing the Department of Education with an executive order later today, he signed about 90 of them. About 70% of all Americans, Republicans, independents, and Democrats, are concerned that some of these EOs may permanently alter the system of checks and balances with Donald Trump. That is, however, similar to what Barack Obama had ratings-wise, 38%, I believe it was, something like that, back in 2014 regarding Obamacare and things like that. So it's one of those things where people are, approving of the president in bigger numbers than ever before for Donald Trump. But there's a caveat. They worry, don't go too far.
I take the opposite view on this. He's not going far enough, as far as I'm concerned. I think Donald Trump is way too tame sometimes, okay? Hear me out. We've had so many activist judges blocking him on so much stuff lately, all right? For example, he had this deportation. We have judges ruling, hey, you can't be deporting, criminals to like whatever country because that violates the Constitution somehow. Seriously? Enough's enough, okay? Birthright citizenship, that's another example. Trump signed an executive order banning it. Where's that? Why isn't it happening yet? Probably because judges are holding it up and not allowing it to happen. Now, hopefully it goes to the Supreme Court and gets passed, but let's say it doesn't. Then what? Are we just going to allow for this to go on? The birthright citizenship idea is based on a willful misinterpretation of the 14th Amendment that was determined by, you guessed it, the courts, okay? There are avenues that we can take to deal with this kind of stuff. For example, we can impeach activist judges. People say, oh my God, that's terrible. Oh, you're going to question the judiciary? Oh, that's unprincipled. Well, if we do that, the Democrats are going to do it. Blah, 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 blah. The Democrats don't care, all right? And they know the courts are on the sides anyways. Did we forget what happened starting in March of 2020? You think they give a crap about the Constitution or about norms or whatever else? Okay, the time is now, all right? Doge cuts, that's another instance. We have judges who are forcing the federal government, to rehire a bunch of people who are cut by Doge, a bunch of people who are just frankly probably shouldn't be on our payroll in the first place. All right, the US government is the #1 employer in the world. Yes, in the world. Okay, India and China have like 3 times the amount of people we do, and they still don't hire as many people in their government. It's sick. Okay, the deep state, administrative state, I like to call it the deep state, is insane, all right? And it has an interest in protecting itself inherently. We need a tough president who's going to say enough is enough. And is Donald Trump that guy? He might be, all right? I'm not saying he isn't. But there are drastic measures that must be taken in order to do this. Call me a radical, but look, it's either we get it done now or never. That's really how I see it.
Yeah, you're right, Lawrence, about the legacy media. I mean, if you flipped around channels during the election, they weren't reporting positive news about Donald Trump. We saw that censorship on social media. And Laura Ingraham said the other night she was flipping around channels, and one news agency didn't even have the astronauts coming home live.
American story.
So exactly. And that's why some of these big networks are laying off their anchors that are making a lot of money, because it's a business. They're not making money anymore. People are turning off their TVs. You want to hear all sides of the story, right? So they weren't telling the positive stories of Donald Trump, thinking it was going to affect the election, but America was smarter.
Right, because they're on the wrong side of so many issues. I watched the mayor of Boston yesterday.
Unbelievable, right?
Prideful she is that she's protecting illegal immigrants, including criminals.
She's doubling down.
She's like, we like our coffee strong and we stand. What are you talking about?
Right.
So, okay, that's how you stand. I don't think the American people want illegal criminals there. So now it's really judge fair. The only people standing in the president's way are these judges, and they're handpicked liberal judges who are going on party lines. They're activists, and the president is not overreacting. I got to give him credit. I watch him sitting with Laura Ingraham, and they're talking about all these cases that are not going his way or on pause. He goes, we're going to work our way through it. Where 4 years ago, it was this.
He would go after him.
And he's never said, I'm going to ignore the judge order, the court order. They're like begging him to. And he's like, not going to. We're going to work our way through the system.
Because they are we have 3 co-equal branches of government. And so he's going to let it play out.
Should Trump ignore the orders of the judges? No, he should not. But should he, say, strip them of their federal jurisdiction so they can't rule in the future, and then we get a judge that we like ruling on the stuff? Yeah. Absolutely, and I will not take any garbage about how I'm unprincipled or whatever for viewing that as such, all right? We are at a war here, all right? And not a physical war, okay? Don't misinterpret me. It is very important we are on our A game. Now, going back to that earlier discussion about the congressional approval ratings of the Republicans, it sounds pretty low, actually. They got 40% approval. People understandably hear that and think, oh, that sucks. And it does, all right? Congress generally is hated by the American people, and for good reason, all right? I'm talking about both Republicans and Democrats. But despite all this, it is actually worse somehow for the Democrats in terms of their congressional approval than Republicans. Take a look.
I'm a big fan of the oldies, and when it comes to the feelings that Americans, voters at large, and Democrats have, I can't help but think of Chubby Checker. Why is that? Because the question is, how low can you go? Voters' views of Democrats in Congress, the lowest ever approval ratings on record per Quinnipiac University. Look at this. Approve 21% among all voters. Look at the disapprove level. Holy Toledo, 68% of all voters disapprove of how Democrats are doing in Congress. Now, you might think that is low, and this is the lowest number on your screen here, down at 21%. But I want to bring you over here to how Democratic voters feel, because this is truly unbelievable. Amongst their own party, how do Democratic representatives, senators, how are they viewed? Get this, the plurality disapprove at 49%. More Democrats disapprove of the job that their party is doing in Congress than approve. Get this, only 40% approve. These are truly horrific numbers. They are in the trash bin of history. That is how low these approval ratings are. When you can't even get plurality approval among your own party, you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, safe to say that sucks for the Democrats, all right? I mean, considering that Republicans have doubled the approval rating, essentially, despite not even getting a majority of Americans to approve, the left is screwing up. With all that being said, everybody, we hope you enjoyed the clip. Thank you for tuning in. As always, comment below. Let us know what you liked about the clip, what kind of stuff you want to see in the future. Hit that subscribe button so we can make sure we see you again soon. God bless.